Good morning, everybody. Here we are as we continue Kuntres Bikkur Chicago. We're actually almost done. We're at the last, today, Mitzvah, we're going to start the last ice. And I'm back to searching. I think I'm going to learn the second maamer and see, because there's a second maamer in this book. So see if we're up for doing that maamer or maybe find something else. We'll have to see. But we are on our finishing touches for the maamer. I'm very, very, very proud and excited to have done this with you guys. Okay, so before we start on our next ice, which kind of begins to tie a lot of these concepts in. I mean, we already tied a lot of the concepts in, but how much more so in the last ice? It's like the last packaging. Yesterday, there was a question in regards to, one second, let me find the source. I guess it was really a question in regards to somebody else's question, because I'm not seeing exactly the source of where it came from in the maamer. But just to answer it, there's been going around the story about Rabbi Groner from Australia and his travels to on his way. I guess back then it was a boat, I'm pretty sure, because they had to so it took a long time to get from Australia to come to visit the Rebbe. So the question based on the story was that the Rebbe asked Rabbi Groner, what do you think about, how do you use your time during your trip? And Rabbi Groner didn't know how to answer that. So the Rebbe took the opportunity to say that please take your time, to use your time to take all the thoughts of every single time you tell yourself, I can't do this, I don't think I'm good enough for this, I'm not the right fit, or I'm not good enough in whatever way, shape, or form, and take those, put them in a little package, and take that package and toss it off the edge of the boat. And recently this story has been going around in different ways, and my husband and I were forbidding about it because for him it's a very powerful, he's from Australia, so it's also very powerful and connected in that sense. But we were discussing how, in a certain sense, it's such a powerful thing that we all have to take the time to do. And I think one of the parts of the question that was asked yesterday based on this story was if, sometimes chucking out our negative thoughts, so to speak, might be creating an illusion. It might be putting us in a situation where we're not living with a realistic expectation, or we're not living with realistic, the real struggles that we're dealing with, and we're just kind of numbing, or we're kind of avoiding. It's a sense of avoidance, oh, I don't have any problems, I don't have any issues. And so sometimes when we take this concept of throwing away our negativity, it is taking, in a certain sense, taking away an opportunity of knowing exactly where to work, how to work on ourselves, how to move forward in our lives. That said, there are certain thoughts and approaches to life that we do have to chuck out, that they are holding us back. They are telling us we aren't enough, we can't do this, we can't. I know that for me, I've been having this conversation a lot with people. Usually it's mommies that are, due in upcoming months or whatnot, and they want to have a good farbrengen about how to, what's the Chassidus perspective on labor. And it's very interesting how I always say that labor is this concept of you're on a one-way street. This baby's coming, and there's nothing you can, it's not your schedule, it's not your particular method. There's someone I admire a lot who she always jokes that she, if she were God, she would just make a nice little zipper right in the belly and let's just nicely take baby out, and that would be just so much easier and so much more fun. But meanwhile, it needs to come out in other ways. So it's not your schedule, it's not your desire. And we always reach a point where, I speak for myself, and I've had a few labors so far, more to come, but I always reach a point and basically everyone I know, they reach a point when they're like, I can't do this. And once you've reached that point, so to speak, like, the bottom of I can't do this, this is so hard, then we have to really rebuild ourselves with Hashem's help. Before was, I am trying to do this. But once you reach that point of I can't do this, we suddenly reach this like new stage where it's, I can do this because Hashem put me in this situation and Hashem's going to help me out of this. And that's when a lot of people start turning more towards Hashem, and it becomes more of like, okay, Hashem, I'm given over to you. You're going to have to help me do this because clearly you're putting me in this situation. So again, living a life of just chucking out our negative, whatever, on a certain sense can be coming from not such a good place, because it is a sense of avoidance. It is a sense of, on the other hand, we have to be aware that those negative thoughts, we have to be very, very, very careful where they come from and where they're leading to. And most of the time, they're not coming from a good place. And most of the time, they're not leading to a good place. So am I going to say a blanket statement, chuck out all your negative, no, but almost all of them, because most of the time, and again, the Bible speaks about this a lot, you have to be very sensitive and very aware of where your thoughts are coming from, and definitely where they're leading to. If at the end of the day, those thoughts of I can't held you back from doing your shlichus and doing the things you were meant to do and doing the best that you can with your life, then that is coming straight from the Yetzer Hara, and it's actually destroying you, and it's not helpful at all. So living a life of avoidance and, addiction to our phones, anytime something's something's uncomfortable, we just run away to think, to do other things. It's also, it's unhealthy, but most of these negative thoughts are actually not leading us to anywhere healthy. So we have to be in tune and think, if I were to continue this thought process, is this leading me to a positive resolution? Many times being negative on ourselves, and that's one of the reasons why our generations have changed. So many times being negative on ourselves is not leading us to somewhere good. Actually, most of the time being negative. So again, taking constructive, conversations and having constructive conversations with a mashpia or somebody who can help guide you out of that, it's very helpful. But just negative thoughts in of themselves, most of the time are not coming from a good place, and most of the time are not leading to a good place. So it's a very, very, very careful path we need to take. Okay. I hope that answered. I know it wasn't a blanket yes or no. Okay, thank you. But I think we have to be very aware of these things. Okay, we are on page 78. Yesterday, we finished off about this concept, or not finished off, but we spoke about this concept of the Shema, the two paragraphs in the Shema. The first paragraph has the word V'chol me'adecha, and we have to be very, very, very happy and proud that we are giving it all of our might. We're pushing hard to connect to Hashem in such a way that we're trying our hardest. And again, sometimes, and this was an interesting question that came up yesterday also, that sometimes, taking a step back is a way to, leap forward. So yes, sometimes trying our hardest means not, being aware of what is needed from you right now. And right now it's possible that it's needed. And instead of taking on, I'm giving an example, instead of taking on 3 prakim of Rambam and staying up late till 3 a.m. doing it, one second, maybe that's not the me'adecha that Hashem wants from me. Maybe the me'adecha Hashem, the pushing myself out of my comfort zone that Hashem wants from me, that giving it my all, is to force myself to go to sleep and say, no, 1 second, let me go to sleep right now. So again, you have to be aware about what Hashem wants from you now. And sometimes that now means you have to take care of your health. Sometimes that now means you have to take care of your sleep. Sometimes that now means you have to take care of, being a mother, and I have to take care of my children. So there are other things I'm not able to do, which are, so to speak, cookie cutter, the Jewish decision, but at the same time, Hashem made us in a Karas HaBayis, and we are meant to take care of our children in our household. And so, again, having a good relationship with a mashpia, or, with Hashem, with a husband, whoever doesn't yet have one, we should be reunited with your soulmates. You should be reunited with your soulmate right now. But having that type of conversation and saying, okay, what does Hashem want from me now? We need that. We need help in that sense, and being aware of it. So again, it doesn't mean go crazy and lose your mind. Okay, so then we spoke about that, and the fact is that when we do push ourselves to do the best we can with with the shlichus that Hashem wants from us right now. Hashem also, it elicits a love in return from Hashem, and Hashem does a ratzai. We do a ratzai, and Hashem uses the ratzai, and we're able to draw down His ratzai, His divine will, in a sense of a sinner, a channel or a pipeline. So we give our best, and Hashem reciprocates, and He shines this incredible light on us and our neshama, and it feeds we feed into each other, and when we have this type of, I'm sure many of you have dealt with this, even if it's not every single day of your lives, but there's been a time when you've been inspired, when you've been alive with a concept, and you feel it. You feel that you're walking around with a whole new view, a whole new perspective on the world. And so this is what we're saying, that for those people, the people that are living in this level, the world is a bright place because they see the inner core of everything, its true essential being, which is the Eibishter himself. Okay, so now we're going to understand a little bit more deeply about Das. And again, we've been talking a lot about Das and how Das means to really live and be able to connect, to bond, to whether it's a story, whether it's Chassidus, whether it's understanding something in such a way that you close your eyes, and it's as if you see it, right? It's as if you can feel it, you can visualize. Same way I gave the example that if I ever take you guys with Hashem, we'll take a nice Living Chassidus trip on a safari, and we see animals, and we see all these amazing things, incredible things with our own eyes. When we come home at some point, and we tell our children, I saw that with my own eyes. So too here, we need to learn, and we need to connect to our davening. We need to connect to our learning. We need to connect to Hashem in a way that even if we don't see Hashem with our physical eyes, it's not one of the things we do. It's a world of Helam and Hester, right? It's hidden and concealed. But in reality is that we have the power to work towards it. We have the power to connect and bond with our Torah learning, with our davening, be able to feel it, to sense it, to have a sensitivity for godliness. So now we're going to understand a whole new level of Das. We're going to understand the Das Elyon, the higher level of Das, and the Das Tachton. So we're gonna get into a deeper understanding of what Das is, so we're able to use it in our lives. Okay, starting on page 78. The reconciling aspect, which combines and unites Chachma with Bina, is Das, right? So we said Chachma is, this essential spark. This, imagine you have an idea and you just know the end result, and not even the full you just know what you want it to feel like, you want it to kind of look like. I want to have I want to change my job. Okay, imagine somebody right now, this corona they're having a struggle, they want to change their job. So they don't know exactly what they want to do, they don't know which company to apply to, they don't know exactly, but they want to change their job. So that essential end result is, my job is different. I want to be working somewhere else. Do I know the process? No, not necessarily. Bina comes from this step of, okay, what does it take for me to change my job? I have to, update my resume, and I have to work on sending applications and seeing what businesses are the type of thing that I want to work for, and all of these different things. That's Bina. That's pulling out the breadth and the understanding and step-by-step process. How do I get there? What I need to do to get there, all of these things. Now, what we're saying is that what unites Chachma with Bina is Das. So now we have to understand that. As it is written, and Adam knew Yada Chava. So Adam knew, and the word that is used is Yada. Adam knew Chava. The word Yada is used here to connote intimacy, to imply that he and his wife became one flesh. So they bonded, they connected, they knew each other. The same is true in a spiritual sense regarding the synthesis of the spheres. In terms of the spheres, Adam corresponds to Chachma and Chava to Bina, the mother of the children, in other words, the Midas. And Adam knew Chava alludes to the bonding of Chachma and Bina through Das, right? Knowledge, this sense of Yada, Das is there's a connection there. So through Das, they were able to combine. Let's understand what this means. In terms of Avodah, this signifies being connected to Hashem with the deepest innermost point of the heart through Bina, the contemplation and thought lying at the heart of his meditation, right? So how do we end up connecting to something? Being connected to the deepest and innermost point of this signifies being connected to Hashem with the deepest innermost point of the heart, meaning our own heart. Do we, we have this concept of Hashem. How do we connect to Hashem? How do we make that next step to be able to really connect in a real way? We have to learn more about Hashem. It's kind of like saying, you meet a random stranger, whether it's at a Living Chassidus event or something, and you're like, wow, she's cool. How do we connect more to that person? How do we get to, get closer to them? By learning more about them, by getting more bina, by getting more understanding of them, of who they are. But via bina alone, without das, the matter would merely remain in the realm of thought. And even the deepest of thought doesn't touch one's essence, one's heart at all, right? So imagine, instead of getting to know her and really, connecting and bonding with her as a real person, you just ask her, this is a bad example, but you just ask her for her shidduch profile and you just read it. So all you know really is, her history, probably know a little bit about what she's looking for and a little bit about what she says about herself. And it's all information. You haven't gone to know the real true essence of her, and you haven't connected to the, to the real her. It's just information on a paper, which is, by the way, works, is the same mashal. I should have used it for shidduchim. However, when there is an enthusiastic arousal of the will of the heart, re'usa de liba, and a person bonds with the concept he is contemplating to the extent that he is entirely engrossed in the concept with all of his bodily senses, this being an expression of das, this causes chachma to fuse with bina. So switching the example, I think it works a lot better with shidduchim, right? So you hear about this person, and the idea sounds good. You think the idea of this bacher sounds like, yeah, it's something worth pursuing, right? Then you take a moment and you read his profile. It's all paper, it's all information, especially some people's profiles are very dry, doesn't really say much about the person. So you read the profile, now all you have is a list of where they worked, or a list of, where they, what they did for summers and their favorite hobbies and, a few sentences about them. And that's it. All you have is information. Can you marry that? No, you can't have that emotional relationship with something that's just information, cold, dry information. You need to go and meet the person. You need to get that warmth. You need to get that sense of who they really are. That's das, and that you can connect. And once you have that, you can take the first essence of what you thought about the person. You can see how it goes through the bina. You can match up the information. That's why, for anyone who's been listening to my shidduchim course, you take that moment, you take that time of dating to be able to say, okay, the stuff that I see on your profile, how does it actually play out in real life? You say you're chassidish. Okay, what's your type of chassidish? How does that actually live? How do you live with this concept? So again, that makes it a das, that makes it a bond, a relationship, and then you're able to take this chachma and bring it into bina. This implies that intensity of the person's meditation brings about a state in which bina, normally only associated with hearing, gains the perception of chachma. The das, which bonds chachma to bina, is called das elyon, the higher das, right? So when we're able to understand, and again, taking this back into the learning aspect, into davening and learning, when we're able to take a concept and say, okay, the first time I learned it, or let's say, for example, here, the first time you hear me teaching this maamer, right? It's as if I'm literally just like walking around shining light on these concepts. But by me shining the light, it wasn't necessarily yours. It isn't necessarily yours. You're just listening to me. When you take the maamer yourself and you go and you actually grab it and you actually open it up and you actually try and learn it yourself, you start to understand the concept intellectually. You start to get it. It starts to be in your brain and it's yours. It's a whole different level. You can use the examples that I gave and the way I taught the shir can help you understand it so it's easily digestible, but it has to be yours. That said, that doesn't necessarily cause das. At the end of the day, you could close the book and it still doesn't mean anything to you. The next step is how much of it you truly digested and connected with. You feel the bond and connection. Not only that, but a good way to do this is also to imagine yourself or actually do it and teach it to someone else. Or even not teach it inside, but just give the concept over to someone else. My husband does this sometimes when he doesn't have a chavrusa for something. He stops and it's as if he's teaching it to himself. So just having that next level of bonding and connection that you yourself are able to articulate and explain this concept, that creates this level of das elyon. And therefore you're able to take Michal's shir, my personal learning, and say, wow, now it's really truly mine. Now I've really bonded with it. Now I've really connected with this concept. And we should work towards doing this with our Torah learning, with our davening, with all these different things. So that, okay, I'm not going to get Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow. We're going to discuss the das tachton. So das elyon is this concept of being able to take the original, essence of a concept, to learn it in such a way that we actually understand it. How many times have we gone to a farbrengen and the person gives amazing examples and explains things in an amazing way. We come home and we're trying to tell someone, you're like, yeah, it's such a good farbrengen. She said this story and then she said that story and then somehow connected, but it was good. So we come out with this like really amazing excitement and wow, but it hasn't become ours. We didn't understand the flow. We didn't understand the concepts step by step by step to the point that we're able to share it to someone else. So again, let's work towards, at least today, let's make this the challenge for today. Take a concept, take a piece of davening, take, even if you're going to take this, exactly what we just said today, learn it on your own. Take it and make it yours. And then take a moment and send somebody else a voice note saying, hey, can I explain this concept to you? Or actually call a person. Shocker. Let's call someone, and then say, hi, can I just explain this concept to you to make sure that I understand it? Right? Let's bond with somebody else and let's see how much of the concept we truly understood by looking at it inside. And that's what we need to do. Because when we do this, when we get into the habit of learning in such a way, when we get into the habit of taking our Judaism and make it ours, don't just take the shir. Take the shir and make it your shir. Take the shir and make it your life. Take that concept and put it on your eyes so that you can see the world through Hashem glasses. When we do that, then we're able to have this das elyon. And in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow, we're going to learn what das tachton means, and then we're going to learn even more tools for our lives. So, Mashiach now, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Hope you have a wonderful day.